Thank you, and I want to welcome Minister Byrne, and I was also very glad to have the Taoiseach to come to the House today. I'm hoping that he will be able to return, and maybe return more at length, because I know we've had requests for debates over many periods of time. The nature of the week that's in it means, of course, the focus is going to be on tariffs, but there are a large number of issues which the Seanad needs to discuss, I believe, in detail with the Taoiseach. So I'm looking forward to seeing him return quite soon. In response to the announcements of the various tariffs last night, I think it is important that we have a calm response. It is important that it's thoughtful, but it's also important that alongside our immediate and short-term response, we also have the medium-term response starting already and starting in the background. I think when we look to, yes, of course, crucially for Ireland, the next 2 weeks being part of the EU discussions around what reciprocal tariffs may look like is very important. But also the points that have been made, and they're made often by opposition, and I kind of sometimes dismissed as if you're against FDI when you talk about them, but the importance of indigenous industry and the importance of new industry and innovation with our European partners is very crucial. When we look to this area, for example, such as pharmaceuticals, we have a stay in terms of the tariffs. We don't have they're not included in yesterday's tariffs, but we know that there is an insecurity in that area. They take 8 years or 9 years to move as an industry, so it is a slow-moving industry. But Ireland has the education, it has the infrastructure that is there, and we need to not just be looking to the companies that exist now, but look to the next companies, which may be Irish and which may be European. And this is something, it goes to a kind of a crucial point. What we should not be doing, and Europe should not be doing, in response to the tariff announcements, are short-term things that will make our situation worse in terms of policy, and they include the idea that we would start importing liquefied natural gas and fracked gas, the idea that we would make ourselves more vulnerable and more exposed to the United States in terms of fracked gas, that we make ourselves more exposed and more vulnerable in terms of trying to curry favour through the purchase of arms, including F-35s, which it has now been suggested may even contain a kill switch, so that they're not usable unless it is at the agreement of the United States presidency. So this area of a race to buy the things that will make our European, national and global situation worse in terms of accelerating climate change and accelerating militarization and damaging human rights is a poor decision, and would be a poor decision. For the sake of a soundbite, for the sake of trying to get a line or two or a smile or two, we need to be very clear. We need to talk about the industries that we have, that matter, that are substantial, that have a future, and that needs to be our focus. We also would be a very, very poor mistake, one that I fear the European Union is beginning to make already, if we were to engage in a race to the bottom on standards. Environmental standards, employment standards, or regulatory standards. We've seen the new bonfire of regulation bill brought forward by the Commission. We're seeing a stop on the corporate due diligence directive that's been put in place. And we need to be here. I'm very passionate about Europe. I was one of the 4 Irish representatives, parliamentarians, at the Future of Europe process. And Europe needs to listen, something it failed to do during the last crisis and during the period of austerity, to listen to the European public. And the European public, taking part in that Future of Europe process, they were clear. Their version of Europe wasn't solely about the economy. It certainly wasn't about military might being their identity. It was around being proud of a Europe that had standards, and being proud of a Europe where we collectively raise those. And also, not only is that crucial in terms of the public, but also that is crucial in terms of actual innovation. Competitiveness is not simply about cutting. Competitiveness is about actually having the grounds of innovation, whereby we make products, we create services, we develop initiatives that operate in a way that will actually serve us as humanity. Because right now, and this is again an area where I feel very concerned for the people of America. I lived there for a long time, and I'm very concerned because I think they will be hit worse by these tariffs. But they are also being hit in parallel by an attack on science, by an attack on public health research, which is the kind of thing that will undermine any future for Sarma, by attacks on science, and by attacks on physical realities. You know, the reality that, for example, women exist, the reality that populations are diverse, the reality that we are in a climate crisis with a limited environmental space for survival. And actually, if Ireland and Europe lean in to producing the products, creating the services, and leading in innovation that recognises those realities rather than chasing the deregulatory space, that's where we are actually in the next wave of innovation. The currently 4 of the big tech companies are European. I don't see why the next big companies in many of these areas should not be coming out of Europe and indeed out of Ireland. But also when we talk about making sure we don't lose what matters, and I should make a particular point that the idea of cutting our social cohesion funding at this time would be disastrous in terms of opening ourselves to those who would sow division during a time of economic recession. But also Europe needs to examine what the Oireachtas said. We are looking at the reshaping of global value chains. We're also looking at an attempt to reshape global values. This is where Ireland can give leadership within the European Union. This is where Ireland can support our friends in the European Union by making sure that we remind them and hold them to the principles of global values. And that means looking to the aid cuts that are happening right across. Some of the largest tariffs last night were some of the poorest countries in the world, who are also seeing aid cuts, not just from the United States, but from Europe. We also need to look to the issues of our neutrality and our peace. That is something that gives us credibility internationally. And Europe benefits from Ireland's unique voice, its unique credibility when it comes to the histories of colonisation, and its unique credibility on international law and due to its neutrality and on peace building. So right now Europe has neglected, frankly, its other relationships across the world. We talked about reaching out to other markets. Those other markets are in countries. And Europe needs to work on its wider diplomacy. It needs to do so. We look to the G20 that's going to be so important that the Taoiseach highlighted. Ireland was invited to participate in the G20, the 20 largest economies, not by one of our European partners, but by South Africa. South Africa, which is also one of the countries in the Hague Group, a group of countries that are saying we must continue to stand for international law. Ireland being invited by South Africa to the G20 was also a recognition of our values and the fact that Ireland is standing by international law and international values. These are the issues which we cannot throw away right now, because Europe needs them, because the world has seen Europe's hypocrisy when they talk and rightly condemn the illegal invasion of Russia by Ukraine and take actions and after action on that. Well, we're still talking. I was concerned in the minister's speech to see talk about conflict and hostilities. Let's be clear what Israel are saying, what Katz said yesterday. They are in a crush and cleanse phase. They want to capture large areas that will be added to the security zone of Israel. That is straightforward ethnic cleansing and colonialism. And Ireland can be a friend to Europe by pointing out that if Europe does not take a stand against this form of colonialism, it damages its relationship with those many other economies across the world and those many others who we need to engage with. Again, aid should not be a matter of interest, it should be a matter of principle. Peace is a matter of principle. International law is a matter of principle. But taking a stand on those things and being credible on those things also serves in Ireland's interest, and it also benefits Europe at a time when the whole world economy, there's a lot of moving pieces right now, and Europe needs to build its relationships, and these relationships have been damaged, sadly, in recent times, and been damaged by the failure for Europe to take action. Speaking on Israel, they have been damaged, and they will be damaged. Ireland's credibility would be massively damaged if we were to erode the triple lock and thereby send a signal, to send a signal that we are trampling on the United Nations. Let it be clear, that would be a push against the United Nations General Assembly, one of the largest groups we're part of, one where we have a leading and strong voice. Let's not throw that away at this crucial time.